Hi everyone, this is just a short video to prepare you for the first exam. And so I've included a pretty detailed study guide here, and I just want to walk you through it really quickly. Important things to note here. In the study guide, there's a section A and a section B. I will choose one of these two prompts in section A for the exam, right? One of these two prompts will be on the exam in section A. And these deal specifically with the film that we watched, Birth of a Nation. Then there's a section B. I will choose one of these three prompts for the exam. Okay, one of these three will be on the exam. And so these are essay prompts that deal with the lectures and readings that we've been going through so far in the course. Okay, and so there is one question about the unit that we looked at on Reconstruction. There's one question about the unit that we looked at about imperialism and World War I. This should say World War I, not World War II. I'll fix that. And another that combines those units on the Progressive Era and the New Deal. Okay, and so in each of these, in section B, I have some advice on how you might answer that particular question. Okay, and so, for example, for the Franklin Roosevelt Progressive Era question, so I have a piece of advice here, right? Write an opening paragraph where you need a thesis statement or an argument, and each of these are 5 paragraphs. Okay, so you have an opening paragraph with a thesis statement, and you have 4 supporting paragraphs. There's no conclusion necessary here. Okay, I want an introductory paragraph, and then I want 4 supporting paragraphs. So it says advice, write an opening paragraph, okay, with a thesis. And then I say what you might do is write 2 paragraphs about the Progressive Era that would explain why FDR would hesitate to call himself a progressive. And then you can write 2 paragraphs that discuss how Roosevelt's New Deal is different from Progressive Era policies. All right, and so I do that for all of these prompts in section B. And so if you're kind of struggling a bit about how to structure this essay, look at that advice on how you might structure it. For all of the essays in section B, an important thing that you need to remember is that you need to use at least 9 important terms from the textbook and lectures, and 1 primary source that we've read. And so remember, in every unit that we've looked at so far, there's been a list of primary sources in the readings for the textbook and a list of important terms for the lecture, right? And so those are the important terms that you can use as evidence in your essay. And then in each of those units, there's been at least 1 primary source there, and that's the primary source that you can use. So you need to use 1 primary source in the essay for a section B. And what I've done down here, just for your convenience, is I've created a PDF document that lists every single important term that's been in every unit that we've looked at so far, and it also includes all the primary sources we've looked at so far. And so when you're constructing these essays, make sure that the important terms and the primary source that you're using is on that list. Otherwise, it won't count towards the 9 important terms and 1 primary source that you need. Right. The other thing that we ask you to do is as you're writing this, we ask you to underline all of the important terms in the primary source that you use. And so when we're grading this, we're looking for those terms in that primary source in section B. And we might if you don't underline it, we might overlook it and not give you those points. So it's really important to underline those as you write that essay. And the other part of that is that every time you use an important term, you need to define or explain it. And so here, I'll just give you a quick example. So with people, really easy. Someone like Theodore Roosevelt, you can write a sentence that says Theodore Roosevelt, comma, President of the United States. That just tells me that you know who he is, right? And then you can finish the sentence. If you use the 18th Amendment, we want to know that you understand what that actually means, right? So you could write a sentence that says the 18th Amendment, comma, which prohibited alcoholic beverages, and then you can finish the sentence. We just want to make sure that when you use a term as evidence, that you know what you're talking about at the very least, right? The other thing that we ask you to do that's on this study guide, and it's in the grading rubric that I'll get to in a second, but since we're on the on this word page, I'll just do it now. At the end of, in section B, at the end of your 4 supporting paragraphs, I want you to be able to explain how all of this evidence in that paragraph fits together. And so I ask you for a sentence at the end of the paragraph that just looks like this, that just starts, "This evidence shows," which is a really elementary way to write this. And when you get to upper level courses, you'll learn how to do this more eloquently. But high school classes, I found, generally don't get you into the mindset that you need to tell the reader how to interpret all of this evidence, that you really need to hit the reader over the head with the message that you're trying to send to them in that particular paragraph. And so this is just meant to get you into that mindset to improve your writing a little bit. So if you're writing a prompt about that imperialism, World War I prompt, for example, you might have a paragraph in there that would end, "This evidence shows that civilization was an important justification for imperialism," right? Really simple, right? But just gets you into the mindset of tying up a paragraph and telling the reader why all of this evidence fits together and what sort of point that you're trying to make. Okay. And so here's the grading rubric that I've included in here. And there are a different point system for both section A and section B. Section A, pretty clear. So you provide an answer to the prompt, a pretty clear answer. And then that's 10 points. And then 15 points, you provide at least 3 scenes from the film as supporting evidence. All right. And so that's really important. You actually describe scenes from the film to support the answer that you have to the prompt. Okay. Section B, obviously many more points distributed here. That's where you should really devote most of your time when you're writing this essay or writing this exam. 15 points comes in that first paragraph where you have a strong and clear argument, right? A thesis statement. 50 points comes just from including in this essay 9 key terms and 1 primary source, and that you actually define those, right? And so if you were just to have an important term in there and you don't define it or explain what it actually means, we would take points off. An important thing here is that these terms and primary sources need to make sense in the essay. And so if you were using a term that has absolutely nothing to do with imperialism or World War I, we wouldn't count that, right? It needs to actually fit within the subject of the essay. And then that last 10 points is what I was just explaining in that Word document, which is in each of the last 4 required supporting paragraphs after the intro, you successfully explain how your evidence supports your argument, right? And that's what I was showing you in terms of this evidence shows sentence in there. So I've tried to make this as you know, easy as possible and as really straightforward as possible. And again, one thing I want to repeat here is that you do not need a conclusion in that section B essay, right? Just 1 intro paragraph and 4 supporting paragraphs. Now, some last comments here. I will make that exam available this Friday morning at 12:01 a.m. and then it will close at 11:59 p.m. Remember, once you open the exam, there's no timer. Okay, you could open it up at 12:01 and turn it in at 11:59 if you want to. You just have to make sure that you turn that in by 11:59 p.m. All right. If you have any questions, always know that you can email me, and I'll be happy to provide some guidance. Just please don't email me at 10 p.m. Thursday night right before the exam starts on Friday. All right, everybody, good luck.